Hello, my name is Rob, and today I will talk about carbon pricing in the news. And as the Liberal leadership race has started, I've seen a lot of campaigns say that they are going to eliminate the carbon pricing, consumer carbon pricing, or they will eliminate it, pause it, and I'll look at some articles as well. And I support carbon pricing. Let's see, where am I? So I will go to news. So the first article that I'll talk about today is from the Toronto Star. It's called Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland would scrap consumer carbon tax if elected, Liberal leader, sources say. And this has been confirmed because announcements made after this article was written have said that they are going to get rid of carbon pricing. I'll avoid saying tax because it's not a tax, it's a levy. So this is by Altina Ray. So they say that Mark Carney will repeal the consumer price and focus on industrial metals instead. Even though acknowledging that Trudeau put more money into people's pockets and said that there will be a tax break as compensation. So Mark Carney is abandoning carbon pricing and greenhouse gas climate action. Although it's good that there will be focus on industrial metals because that is where a lot of the carbon, that is where a lot of the impact will go, comes from. But getting rid of the carbon pricing removes the incentive for people to reduce their greenhouse gases, invest in heat pumps, for example, electric vehicles, etc. Let's see. And then Chrystia Freeland would also walk away from the carbon price. So, and that was a big platform. Let's see. So this is an article called Gould outlines plan for carbon tax if she becomes next Liberal leader. So I'll play that, and then I'll see if I can find I'll look at some of the other candidates. I think those 6 of them.
Look, I think what's incredibly important is that for Liberals, and quite frankly for Canadians across this country, climate change is one of the most important issues that we are facing. And one of the things that I love most about Canadians is that when there's a problem, they look for ways to solve it. And I understand that the price on pollution is something that a lot of Canadians don't feel speaks to what and how they think they can contribute and how they can make a difference. So what I am proposing is that we need to immediately cancel the increase to the price on pollution ahead of April 1st. We need to bring in measures that are going to help Canadians make the decisions that they want to make. Because Canadians are actually making those decisions already. They're already looking for ways to reduce their emissions, but sometimes it's too expensive. So we need to make sure that we're helping them buy an electric or hybrid vehicle. We're helping them reduce their their emissions in their homes and finding other ways for them to make those contributions. While at the same time, industry needs to play its part. We need to make big polluters pay, and we need to ensure that we have a comprehensive national plan to fight the climate change. This is so important. Look, we're seeing what's happening in California, and we've seen the wildfires across the country. And Canadians care about this. But let's give them the tools and the way forward to make those decisions so that they too can be part of the solution. Look, I think what's incredibly important is that
Yeah. So that was Karina Gould. I think the only candidate that is proposing to maintain carbon pricing for consumers and the rebate that goes along with it. Now I am going to, I'll type in Google the other candidates. While I'm searching on Google, I'll also say that Liberals have purchased a pipeline, and they have weakened environmental legislation throughout their time in office. And they haven't supported a environmental assessment for Highway 413. They walked back on that. And okay. So Chandra Arya policies would remove carbon pricing. Frank Baylis said that eliminating the carbon tax alone would not solve the affordability issue. And I'll look at the websites. So let's see if there's any like easy information about carbon. No, it doesn't seem to be.
Hello, I'm Chandra.
Oh, here. So this is Chandra Arya refers to carbon pricing as an activist-driven policies like the consumer carbon pricing mechanism will be let go. Even though it was all political parties supported carbon pricing, including conservatives at one point. Let's see. There's an climate change. So climate change is mentioned once, and economy is mentioned 8 times. So let's see here. I'll go to Frank Baylis. Let's see. I don't see Colvin. No, I don't want updates. Okay. Well, anyways, I'll go to the next article. So this article is called "Why is Pierre Poilievre So Against the Carbon Tax?" in the Novel by Drew Anderson. Yeah, and it's not actually a tax. Let's see, where was it? It's actually a... the Supreme Court said that in a briefing, however, they said that this has nothing to do with the concept of taxation as understood in the constitutional context. As such, they also concluded that the fuel and excess emission charges imposed by the Act were constitutional valid regulatory charges and not taxes. So that's why I don't use tax. There was a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding by people who are not economists. It's meant to impose a cost on people to incentivize people to change, to reduce their emissions, get heat pumps, electric vehicles, and it isn't tied to the actual cost. It's if you buy less gasoline, you get the same refund. The less carbon you're using, the bigger the refund is. And most of the money is returned, the article says most of the money is returned directly to individuals through the carbon rebate. Oh, I didn't click. Oh, that's just the government of Canada. Well, the rest is distributed to small and medium-sized businesses, farmers, and indigenous governments. And then I have also found in a letter that an economist signed. There's a lot of economists that consider it the most efficient and least costly way to incentivize emissions reductions. It is revenue neutral, meaning the federal government doesn't actually make money off of it. So that's a point that made in the article. And I'll find the letter. Let's see. Here it is. This is an open letter from economist on carbon pricing, and it's posted on the Eco-Fiscal Commission. Let's see, and then they have like the claim and what evidence shows. And then they say carbon pricing reduces emissions, but it does so at a lower cost than other approaches. The claim is carbon pricing won't reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So what they say is since federal carbon pricing took effect in 2019, Canada's greenhouse emissions have fallen by almost 8%. And it's expected to account for almost half of Canada's emissions reductions by 2030. And then they point out when something costs more, people use less of it. And they say that it's the lowest cost approach because it gives each person and business the flexibility to choose the best way to reduce their carbon footprint. Then there's claim 2. Carbon pricing drives down the cost of living and is a major cause of inflation. That's the claim. And then they say that Canada's carbon pricing has a negligible impact on the overall inflation. And then they point out that current inflation was caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's because of disrupted supply chains, rapid growth in money supply, and pent-up demand. And that makes sense. There was also the Russia-Ukraine war. There was a lot of fossil fuels involved there. And it has impacted people whether or not they have a carbon price. Other countries have experienced similar inflation. And they pointed out that the Bank of Canada carbon pricing has caused less than 1/20th of Canada's inflation in the past 2 years. And then they point out that most families receive more money in rebates than they pay in carbon pricing, particularly those with low or medium income. So that's how they refute that claim. And then there's claim 3. Claim 3, it makes little sense to have both the carbon price and rebates, but the evidence is the price and rebate approach provides an incentive to reduce carbon emissions while maintaining most households' overall purchasing power. And then they say carbon pricing works by raising the price of carbon-intensive products, and customers and businesses are incentivized to adopt lower carbon options such as smart thermostats, heat pumps, or hybrid electric vehicles. And then the rebates ensure that the most households come out ahead because they receive an amount back that is slightly above what the average household spends on carbon pricing. And then there's claim 4, carbon pricing harms Canadian business competitiveness, but they say Canada's carbon pricing scheme is designed to help businesses reduce emissions at low cost while competing in an emerging low carbon global economy. And a lot of countries have carbon pricing border adjustments. So there's a lot of trade agreements that include carbon emissions. So if you're not having any carbon emissions, then you're going to lose out on trade deals, or you're still going to have the carbon border adjustment. So that's what I'll say to that. And then there's claim 5, carbon pricing isn't necessary. And they say that Canada could abandon carbon pricing and still hit our climate targets by using other types of regulations and subsidies, but it would be much more costly to do so. And opponents of carbon pricing are not offering alternative policies to reduce carbon emissions and meet climate goals, and they aren't offering any alternatives that would reduce emissions at the same low cost as carbon pricing. So I will go back to here. Let's see. Oh yeah, there is another carbon tax price. The consumer levy is what you hear. This is from the article. This what you previous article in the novel. What you hear and about when you listen to Poilievre or many other countries' premiers complain about the levy. The industrial targets large industrial minerals and is separate from the consumer tax. BC, Quebec, and Northwest Territories have completely independent consumer and industrial carbon taxes. And they point out that Alberta was the first jurisdiction in North America to introduce an industrial price in 2007. And then the more efficient, the bigger the savings. And then they point out that industrial price has the biggest impact on emissions. And Poilievre hasn't talked about the industrial carbon price. And then Ken Bolson School, a political strategist, said that there's a huge gap between what the conservatives say and what the conservatives do, and believes that he would retain the industrial carbon pricing, but that remains to be seen. Let's see. There was a heading. Okay, so why does Poilievre seem focused on the carbon tax? He zeroed in on angle at the price of bread, housing, gasoline, and has found simple targets and simple messages to channel angle felt across the country. And it fits within the populist political ideology, but ignores that the rebate track would be eliminated, and they'll still pay more for goods due to the industrial price. So prices at the grocery store are not likely to go down if the consumer carbon levy is eliminated. And reading other reports, it's like not a lot of impact. It's like less than 1% of inflation, and I don't think that it will go down. And then very few people like paying taxes. There's a good quote, everyone enjoys public health care when they need it, but nobody links that care with the money they see disappearing from their paychecks every 2 weeks. Carbon pricing is the costs are upfront and central at the gas pump or on home heating, while the refund checks arrive days, weeks, or months later. And the federal NDP has called for an end to the consumer carbon price, and future seems unlikely, even if Liberals were to win. And then I couldn't link this study. I tried clicking the link, but it seems to be broken. I'll click it now. Yeah. Unfortunately, but there was a study which looked at carbon taxes in Europe and Canada, and it found that there was little correlation with inflation, and it was especially needed in countries with revenue-neutral carbon taxes and autonomous central banks that can accommodate potentially inflationary pressure associated with carbon pricing. And then Liberals did carve out an exemption for home heating in Atlantic Canada. So that helped Pierre Poilievre. So that was a messaging nightmare. I made another video about that. And then people get money back. Let's see. I'll go to the next article. So this article is called "The Carbon Tax is Nearly Dead, Now What?" by Aaron Reilly. And then it says, nearly every single Liberal, NDP, and Conservative MP who currently sits in the House of Commons, up to including Pierre Poilievre, who now says Canada needs a carbon election so it can axe the tax, won their seat while carrying a commitment to apply a price on carbon. So that's interesting, even Pierre Poilievre. Yeah, so it says the carbon tax, from the article, the carbon tax does not seem to be a significant factor in the rising cost of groceries. Latest research suggests it contributed to less than 0.5% increase in consumer prices since 2019. Many people could end off worse if the carbon tax was repealed. There's the mention of carbon border adjustments. Let's see. So I'll go to yeah, I guess I'll go to, I know I'm going to be talking a lot about this, so I'll look at the last article for today. So this last article is called "If Canada Axes its Carbon Tax and Rebates, This is How Different Households Would Gain or Lose" by Robertson Fletcher. Most households receive more in rebates than they pay in direct and indirect carbon cost. Oh, who's Tom? Trevor Tom, an economics professor, said, if we got rid of the carbon tax and the rebate, then this would harm a much larger fraction of low and middle income households than it would higher income households. And then there was a point that was made in the previous article. The more fossil fuels you consume, the more carbon tax you pay directly. These costs are tacked on to the purchase price of gasoline, diesel, natural gas, propane, etc., which folks tend to pay more on both fronts. Incomes are higher, so they produce more energy, more goods and services across the boards. Rebates, however, aren't affected by income. And then the rebates tend to have an outside effect on low income folks, people. Oh, and then this is a moving chart. So all income levels let's see. So it looks at some of the net losses and gains. And it shows that most people have gains. So rebate exceeds cost. I'm just trying to see this. I think the blue is good and the red is okay. I'm not entirely sure. Keeps moving, so. And then according to Statistics Canada, 94% of households with incomes below 50,000 receive rebates that exceed the carbon tax cost. That was 2023. Half of households in the income category see a net gain between $20 and $40 per month. 4% see a net gain of $70 per a month. And then at the other end of the spectrum, only 55% of households with income above $250,000 receive more rebates than they pay in cost, according to the data. Roughly half of households see between a net loss of $20 and a net gain of $30 per month. About 5% see a net loss of $100 a month or more. And then it says that they stand to gain the most if the tax rule acts tomorrow. High income. And then there was analysis by the Parliamentary Budget Officer found that households in Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland and Labrador on average will receive more in rebates this year than they pay in direct and indirect carbon cost. And then it does point out that there was two different things referred to in the Parliamentary Budget Officer report. There was the, let's see, what was it? Oh, yeah, so they looked at the fiscal impact on households which raised the rebates against carbon tax costs. Oh, I'm getting a phone call, so I will end the stream, but I hope that you have a good rest of your day.